After years of service, I was finally heading home for Christmas, but 2 days before, my dad texted saying I wasn't welcome. I replied, "All right." 5 days later, I had 10 missed calls, one from my family and one from their lawyer. I was heating up leftover chili when the text came through. Just one line, no punctuation. "Don't come this year, best for everyone." 2 weeks before Christmas. No call, no explanation. Nothing from my mom, nothing from Sean. My own brother, silent like he didn't know me. I just stood there, bowl in hand, staring at the message like it might change if I blinked long enough. It didn't. I was in my rental in Cedar Point, Ohio. 1 bedroom, cheap furniture, a string of dollar store lights blinking slow and pathetic over the window. I'd put them up last weekend, thinking it might make things feel a little less hollow. Joke's on me. I'd spent years getting shot at in Iraq, buried in snow in Germany, living out of duffel bags and rations. And somehow, none of that hit as hard as those 7 words from my father. "No, hey son. No, we need to talk." Just a digital shove out the door, like I was some stranger begging for a seat at their table. I didn't think. I didn't ask. I just typed one word back. "All right. Not okay. Not fine. Just all right." It meant what it sounded like. Cold, detached, final. Quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Then I shut my laptop, walked over to the kitchen, and canceled the flight I'd booked a month ago. Non-refundable, of course. I didn't care. I wasn't about to beg for a chair in a house I helped pay for more than once. I grabbed a bottle of whiskey from above the fridge, poured myself a glass, and toasted the wall. "Family," I muttered. That word used to mean something, back when I still believed they'd come around. Back when I'd call from overseas just to hear someone say they missed me. But it was always a one-way thing. Me calling, me visiting, me trying. Not this year. I sat back on the couch, glass in hand, lights blinking like they were mocking me. My phone didn't buzz again. Not that night. Not the next day. I could have been dead and they wouldn't have known. So that was it. That one line changed everything. They finally said what they'd been hinting at for years. I didn't belong. And for once, I listened. I took another sip, leaned back, and looked around at my quiet little apartment. I had no tree, no family pictures, no reason to pretend anymore. That was the kind of silence I grew up with, though. The kind that filled every room in that damn house, unless someone was yelling. I didn't join the army to make my dad proud. I joined to get the hell out. I was 18, signed the papers on a Tuesday and shipped out by Friday. Didn't leave a note, didn't ask permission. At graduation, he barely shook my hand, said, "Try not to screw it up," and walked off to talk to someone about the price of diesel. First time I got promoted, staff sergeant. I flew home for Christmas, figured maybe the uniform would mean something. I walked through that front door with my duffel bag still on my shoulder, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "You better clear the driveway before your boots scuff up the floor." No, welcome home. No, I'm proud of you. Just instructions like I was a hired hand. Same look in his eyes he gave the mailman. My mom stayed quiet, like always, tiptoeing around him like he might explode if she breathed wrong. And Sean, he copied every move our dad ever made. Learned early that blending in kept you safe. I remember that Christmas dinner, ham dry as hell, and everyone chewing like we were on a countdown to silence. I asked Sean how college was going. He shrugged, said, "Fine," then changed the subject to car parts. Dad nodded in approval, like speaking in feelings might get you court-martialed. After that, I stopped visiting so much, but I kept sending things. Birthday cards, a check when their water heater busted, another when the truck's transmission died. I never said where the money came from, how I picked up extra rotations, canceled vacations, skipped base holidays just to save up. They never asked. Never said thank you. I'd get a thumbs up emoji from Sean sometimes. That was it. Still, every year I tried again. Sent a card. Called home. Sometimes they answered. Sometimes they didn't. When they did, it was like talking to a receptionist. Polite, flat, forgettable. Even when I was deployed, I'd call on holidays. I remember ringing them once from a bunker outside Mosul. Sand in my teeth. Blood drying on my sleeve. I just wanted to hear someone's voice. Mom picked up, whispered, "Don't tell your father. It'll upset him." That was her default. Keep the peace. Always at someone else's expense. That pattern went on for years, and I kept waiting for it to shift. Maybe this time, it'll be different. Maybe if I stop by. Maybe if I do more. But it never changed. This year was supposed to be the reset. My retirement papers were signed in September. After nearly 20 years in service, I was officially out. Done. I told myself, maybe now I could just be their son again. Not the soldier. Not the ATM. Just Logan. The one who used to watch football with Dad on Sundays before everything went quiet. I thought maybe we'd cook something together. Or just sit around and talk about nothing. Something normal. I even bought a stupid board game I found on sale. Figured we'd crack open beers and try not to argue. Then came that text. And with it, that final snap inside my chest. The one I didn't even know was still holding together. I poured another drink, sat down, and let it burn. Let it all burn. I set the empty glass down and opened my laptop again. But not to stare at flights this time. I went digging. Old folders, old emails, junk I hadn't looked at in years. If they were cutting me off, fine. But I wanted a clean slate too. That's when I found it. A PDF buried in an inbox labeled miscellaneous. 5 years old. The memory hit fast. Dad standing in the kitchen, papers in hand. I was home on short leave, 26, still wearing my uniform half the time because it was easier than unpacking. He told me it was just a formality. A mortgage refinance so he could get a better rate. Said it wouldn't affect me. It's nothing. Just a signature. Help your old man out. I remember my hands shaking from lack of sleep. I signed. Didn't read a single line. I just wanted to sit down and eat something before heading back to base. Now, staring at the file, the pages felt heavier than the whiskey in my gut. I opened it and started reading, line by line. No skipping, no trusting. Every paragraph like a punch to the ribs. Buried deep in legal language I barely understood. There it was. In the event of borrower default or voluntary surrender, cosigner assumes controlling interest of the property. Controlling interest. I leaned back, stared at the screen, and actually laughed once. A sharp, dry sound that bounced off my bare walls. They'd dragged my name and credit into their mess. And now, by the same contract, they'd handed me the keys. I picked up my phone and called my buddy Trey in Tampa. We served together. He got out early. Went to law school. He picked up on the second ring. "What's up, man?" he said. "You still messing with real estate law?" I asked. "Yeah, why?" I sent him the file. "Tell me what I'm looking at." 5 minutes later, he called back laughing. "Logan, this is wild. If your dad told you not to come home and you've got controlling interest, he's about to regret that in a big way." I just said, "So this is legit?" "More than legit. If he's defaulted, it's yours. You can walk in tomorrow and take over. They can't stop you unless they pay off the whole note." I didn't even ask about next steps. I already knew what I was going to do. No calls, no warning, no heads up to Mom or Sean. I was done playing their loyal soldier. I opened a new document and started typing. No emotion, no flourishes, just business. Effective immediately, I will be exercising my controlling interest under the terms of the attached contract. That was the first line. Then the legal points tray texted me date, signature, certified delivery. Cold is the message I'd gotten from my father. I printed it, signed it, scanned it and sent copies everywhere. They'd be sure to see Dad's email, their lawyer's office and the property management account I'd set up just in case. Then I went to the post office, stood in line behind a kid mailing Christmas cards and sent the envelope certified. Tracking number in my pocket, proof in my hands. When the clerk asked if I wanted to add a holiday stamp, I almost laughed. "No," I said. "Regular's fine." I walking back to my car, slid into the driver's seat, started the engine and looked at the dashboard. The date blinked back at me, December 10th, 2 weeks before Christmas. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt clear. For the first time in my life, I was about to make a move that wasn't about earning his approval or hoping for some scrap of gratitude. It was about taking back what was already mine. I pulled out of the parking lot and drove home. The letter on its way. 5 days later, it started. I was making coffee when my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Missed calls from Sean, 2 from my mom, 3 from some random number I didn't recognize. Then his name popped up. Wallace, their lawyer. I let them all go to voicemail, stared at the screen, waiting for them to give up. They didn't. Sean left the first message, voice tight and shaky. "What the hell are you doing, Logan? Seriously, man. What the hell is this letter?" I called him back. Let him sweat a little first. He answered on the second ring. "You went behind our backs," he snapped. "You sent a certified letter, bro." I did exactly what Dad wanted. I said cool as ice. "He told me not to come home. I'm just making sure I honor that." That's not what he meant. He used words, Sean. Real clear ones. He didn't have a comeback for that. Just silence. Then a muttered unbelievable. And he hung up. 15 minutes later, Wallace called. Voice like a weatherman. Smooth, calm, trying to sound like he wasn't knee-deep in panic. "Mr. Carter, I wanted to touch base regarding the letter you sent. I think there's room to—" "Stop," I said. "We're not negotiating anything until my father picks up the phone himself. Not through you. Not through Sean. Him. He paused. That may not be feasible at the moment. Then nothing's changing. I hung up. No more calls from him after that. Just emails with legal buzzwords I didn't bother reading. I knew exactly what was happening now. Dad had defaulted. Again. Probably months ago. And they all thought I'd do what I always did. Suck it up. Keep the peace. Cover the damage. But they missed one detail. That contract wasn't a favor. It was a weapon. And for once, it was in my hands. I walked around my apartment, phone buzzing every few minutes, and let them all go to voicemail. Didn't matter what they said. There was nothing they could offer me that I wanted. I poured myself another cup of coffee, sat down, and turned the ringer off completely. Let the noise die in its own echo. They were used to me playing the role. The soldier who never asked questions. Who showed up when called. Who bailed them out without complaint. But this wasn't war. This was home turf. And this time, I wasn't retreating. 2 days after Wallace went quiet, I got a text from Manny. Got time for a call? Just finished the walkthrough. I stepped outside, lit a cigarette I hadn't touched in 6 months, and called him. He answered fast. Logan, you're going to want to sit down for this. I didn't. I stood in the cold, letting the wind slap me awake. Talk. I walked the whole house, top to bottom. Front's fine. But 2 of the bedrooms? They're being rented out. Different locks. Separate fridges in each room. And a damn mini microwave on one guy's dresser. Cash deals. No paperwork. Nothing legal. I didn't say a word. Just stood there, cigarette burning down to the filter. He kept going. One dude's name is Carlos. Drives Uber. Says he's been there 6 months. The other guy wouldn't say much. Think he's working under the table. I finally spoke. My name's on the mortgage. And they turned it into a damn flop house? Yeah. And with your name tied to it, if something happens, fire, fight, cops, you're holding the bag. Not them. I didn't thank him. Manny didn't need it. He knew what that silence meant. I'll write up the report, he said. You want pictures? Send everything. I hung up, walked inside, and sat at my desk like I'd just taken enemy fire. The contract was bad enough. The lies, the money, the silence. But this? Turning the house I grew up in into a cash under the table side hustle behind my back? That wasn't just betrayal. That was a straight-up spit in the face. I opened a new document. No soft intro this time. No legal pleasantries. Formal notice of transition. I laid it all out. 30 days. Ownership shift in progress. All non-documented subleases immediately voided. Tenants to be notified and vacated per local code. New property management contact listed. No wiggle room. No mercy. I emailed it to Wallace, CC'd Sean. Then I took out my phone, typed one text, and hit send. Check your mailbox. That was it. No signature. No emojis. 30 minutes later, the next wave hit. Calls from Sean. Rapid fire. Mom. Even a random number that had to be Carlos or whoever the hell else was living there. I didn't answer. Sean's voicemail was long this time. Logan, you're making this worse. They don't know where to go. Dad's not in great shape. This isn't how you fix things. I played it twice, then deleted it. You can't plead with someone you exiled. They thought I'd fold. They thought if they ignored me long enough, I'd just go away. Or maybe worse. Keep helping like a ghost in the attic. But now, they were the ones getting ghosted. I spent the rest of the night organizing documents. Lease violation notices, tenant communication drafts, city inspection codes. I'd never run property before, but I knew how to run operations. This was no different. They pushed me out of their lives like I was the problem, and then used what I left behind to make money, live easy, and forget who bled for that house in the first place. But forgetting doesn't erase the facts, and I had 30 days to remind them. I filed the last of the lease violation drafts on Christmas morning, coffee in one hand, pen in the other. Snow piling up outside the windows of the cabin I'd rented near Lake Norris. It was dead quiet. No traffic. No footsteps. Just the sound of wind against the pine trees and the pop of the fireplace. I hadn't seen another soul in 2 days. That was the plan. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Mom. I stared at the name for a second, then picked up. She was already crying. Logan, please. Your father hasn't slept. Sean's miserable. This isn't you. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even move. Just said, do you remember what he texted me? Silence. I'll remind you. Don't come this year. Best for everyone. No explanation. No warning. Just that. More silence. Just sniffles and guilt. I'm begging you, she whispered. He didn't mean it. He did. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the frozen lake, trees bent low with snow, sky heavy. It looked peaceful, but my chest felt like stone. You want to know the part that broke me? I asked. I got ambushed outside Mosul on my birthday. Couple guys went down. I had a busted ear and blood in my mouth, and I still called home. She said nothing. You picked up. Told me not to tell Dad. It'll upset him, you said. Like his comfort mattered more than me bleeding halfway across the world, she whimpered. I didn't care. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. You don't protect me. You protect him. That's not fair, she whispered. It's accurate, I snapped. I gave her a second to speak. She didn't. This isn't revenge, I said. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just done playing a part that never mattered. I was never your son. I was your soldier, your ATM, your afterthought. That's not true. It is, but it's okay now, because I finally see it. I walked over to the dining table, sat down, and opened the file folder. Legal documents, all signed, notarized, and ready to go. I'm filing everything today, I told her. The ownership change, the lease voids, all of it. Please don't, she said. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up. No rage, no shouting, just clean separation, like cutting a cord that should have been severed years ago. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, I sat with my pen and put the final signature on the last form. Let him spend Christmas wondering how we got here. I already knew. January 2nd, freezing wind, gray sky, and snow pushed up on the curbs like dirty laundry. I pulled up in front of the house, with Manny riding shotgun and a locksmith following behind in his van. I'd worn my old army jacket on purpose. Manny looked at me as we got out. You good? Yeah, I said, gripping the folder in my hand. Let's finish it. We walked up the steps, boots crunching ice, and before I even knocked, the front door yanked open. There he was, my father, red-faced, eyes bloodshot, jaw already clenched. You've got some nerve, he snapped. I didn't flinch. I walked right past him, right through the door I helped pay for. This house is under new management. Mom stood near the hallway, clutching her rosary like it had magical powers. Sean was slouched in the recliner, not looking at anyone. His face said it all. Guilt, shame, exhaustion. I opened the folder, laid the paperwork out on the coffee table, one sheet at a time. Subletting without a lease is illegal in this county. Mortgage control was signed over when you refinanced with my name. You defaulted. I triggered Clause 16. Dad stared at the pages like they were in another language. You can't do this, he growled. I already did. He stepped forward, chest puffed. You think this makes you a man, stealing your own parents' house? No, I said, looking him dead in the eye. I think being a man means not using your son's name to dig yourself out of another hole. You signed that contract. You handed me control. I was 26, in uniform, just trying to make you proud. And you used me. He opened his mouth again, but I didn't let him speak. You had pride when it suited you, but not when you needed a cosigner, not when the furnace broke, not when the taxes came due. I turned to Mom. Her lip trembled. She didn't say a word. You asked me once where you'd go, I said steady. Maybe not home for Christmas. That one hit. She looked like she'd been slapped, but I didn't look away. The locksmith gave me a nod. We good to start? Yeah. Change everything. Front, back, garage. Manny stood at the door, watching it all without a word. Professional. Steady. I needed that. As the new lock clicked into place, no one yelled, no one begged. Not this time. Sean stood slowly, still not making eye contact. So that's it, he mumbled. That's it, I said. I picked up the folder, tucked it under my arm, and walked out without another word. The door shut behind us. That was closure. No calls, no cops, no last-minute pleadings from Wallace. 30 days passed without a sound. On February 1st, I drove back alone, pulled into the driveway I used to shovel as a kid, stepped out, and unlocked the front door with my new key. The house was empty. No furniture, no boxes, not even a note. Just walls stripped bare, and a long scratch across the hardwood, where the old dining table used to sit. The same table I paid for when I was 20, and too dumb to know better. I walked room to room, slow, like I was touring some old museum full of ghosts I didn't recognize anymore. The place felt smaller than I remembered, colder. I didn't cry, I didn't feel triumph either. It just was. I opened every window, one by one, and let the winter air flood in. The cold bit through my sleeves and rolled across the floor like smoke. Felt right. I stood in what used to be Sean's room, breathing in that raw February air, and made the call. Manny, it's done. Good. You ready? Yeah, I said. Time to start building. The next morning, we started drafting plans. Not for resale, not for profit, for something better. It would be transitional housing for male veterans. Guys like me, coming out of the service, nowhere to land, no family waiting, just bags and trauma and silence. We called it Foundry House, a place where men could reforge themselves from whatever was left. A local reporter caught wind of the story. Small write-up hit the paper. Veteran reclaims family home after betrayal, turns it into haven for others. They called and asked if I wanted to go on record, tell my side, set the record straight. I declined. Not because I was ashamed, I just didn't need the headline. I'd already lived the story. Foundry House opened 2 weeks later. Nothing fancy, no ribbon cutting, no big speech, just keys handed to guys who needed a second chance. Some with duffel bags, some with just a trash bag and the clothes on their backs. Every room had the same setup. A bunk, a chair, a small locker, and an American flag hanging above the bed. Not because we were trying to prove anything, but because nobody here got forgotten. Not anymore. I didn't put my name on the building. I didn't hang my service medals. I just showed up, cleaned the halls, made coffee, sat with whoever needed to talk and didn't know how. People ask if I still talk to my family. No, no calls, no cards, no drive-bys or surprise visits. And you know what? That's fine. I'm not angry, not bitter, just clear. Every Christmas now, I light a single lantern and set it on the front step. Not for them, for him. The younger version of me. The one who kept flying home, hoping to be seen. The one who signed papers in uniform, thinking it meant he mattered. The one who called home from a war zone and got told to stay quiet so it wouldn't ruin someone's day. I didn't take the house to hurt anybody. I took it because it was already mine. I just finally stopped asking permission. People like to say blood is thicker than water, maybe. But contracts? Those hold up in court. I'm not a son anymore. I'm a man who came back from war, paid his dues, and finally took what he earned. Every couple weeks I get a call from someone who's passed through the house. Most just say thanks and move on. One guy, Vietnam vet, looked like he'd lived through hell twice, left a note in his room. Just one line. This place gave me something to live for again. I folded it, slid it into the drawer in my office. Never told anyone. I didn't need thanks. Just proof I did the right thing. They'll never understand what it took to survive being unwanted. But I do. And now, every time I walk those halls, I remember, this was never their house. It was mine the whole time. They just never saw it.